show on the bright side where we feature amazing influencers who are making such a positive difference in our world today. And today I'm so excited to have Tyler Cash. Hi, Tyler.
Hi, Kristin.
Tyler is a friend, and he's also, I met him, we'll talk about how I met, but he also is the district and field director for Orange County Supervisor Michelle Steele. Wow, she is doing a great job these days. And she's also running as a candidate for the U.S. Congress in California's 48th Congressional District. Thank you for coming here today, Tyler. I really appreciate it.
No, I was going to say it's my pleasure to be here, and I'm very excited to be able to be on your podcast. I know that you've been doing amazing things since we met, and so it is my honor to be here talking to you today. So,
I really appreciate it. Oh my gosh. So Tyler and I met when I was working on the Mimi Walters for Congress for the 2018 election. Yeah. And Tyler was working with the college and the high school. And you were, what was your official position then? I forgot.
Yeah, that was, I'm going to go back a few years here. So we know each other long. 2018 was the election cycle, that midterm, and I was with the California Republican Party at the time. So I was working in Orange County as the deputy state director. And so we had all of those congressional seats, 48, 49, then Mimi Walters, which was 45, and the Young Kim seat, 39. And I was stationed in Irvine at the Walters headquarters where I met you. So
yeah, that's right.
And
go ahead. You're driving in every day from San Diego.
Yes, I was. At the time, I still lived in La Jolla, there near Scripps and UCSD. So I would drive up. I'd get up early, drive all the way up the 5 to Irvine, and then I'd stay there all day at the office with you guys. And late at night, it would drive back home. So I did that for about a year until I actually moved to Orange County.
I know. You're probably so happy that you're here now, but that is a beautiful place to live. And so that's so nice. And well, Tyler started working on political campaigns 10 years ago. In 2010, when he started knocking on doors for an assembly member. Since then, he's worked on local, state, federal, and national campaigns in Florida, Louisiana, Nevada, and California.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Needed to tell some of your stories. I loved hearing your stories when we were working together.
Absolutely. I as you kind of just said, I've been around a little bit here in the country, electorally speaking. And I consider myself very blessed to have had all the opportunities I've had. And my first, job or first foray, you could say, into politics and campaigns was in 2010. I'm from Florida originally, so there was a campaign going on that year with a local gentleman who was assembly member in the state of Florida, and his campaign was looking for volunteers. And I was, at the time I was in college and I needed some volunteer hours. And a buddy of mine had also been campaigning. So he said, why don't we go, work out of the headquarters? Why don't we meet the candidate and go walk some doors? I did, kind of got involved locally that way. But I really hit it off, especially with the people that worked there. I would say that it was the relationships and the personalities that I met that kind of drew me in politically. I got to meet the candidate. His name's Will Weatherford. He went on to go actually become Florida's Speaker of the House. He just retired not that long ago because they can only serve 8 years total in the Florida Assembly. But he went on to become a superstar in the state. But he was a great guy, great candidate. Still is a great guy. He's married, has kids. But he was my first political boss, you could say. He was the candidate, and then his campaign staff that I worked with, as well as just like the local Republican groups and activist organizations in that district, all kind of had a big impact and a big influence on me. So that was the first race that I did when I got involved. So like you said, knocking doors, I was just a paid canvasser. But then the opportunity came knocking again to get back involved with the 2012. That was the presidential election because there's elections every 2 years. So after that race, I ended up working in 2012 on the Mitt Romney for president campaign. And so went from working for a local candidate, on the assembly, to then working for the party for a national candidate for president. And so I ended up running the Tampa Bay field office for Romney in 2012. did that all through the election cycle, and saw that election through to the end. And then after Mitt Romney, it was 2014, which would have been Rick Scott for governor. And he was the candidate that ended up winning, becoming Florida's governor. And then from 2014 to 2016, I ended up working again for the Republican Party of Florida. But that time around 2016 was a big year because we had presidential candidate and President Trump now. And then we also had Marco Rubio, who also had run for president at the same time. So we didn't know if Rubio was going to be the presidential candidate when I started, or if it was going to be somebody else. But obviously Trump got the presumptive nomination at the time, and then Rubio came back to the state to work and run as a senatorial candidate. Sorry. So I had Rubio for Senate, and then we had Trump for president. Were the two campaigns that we were working with when I was with the party at that time. And then after the 2016 election is when I got the chance to work on a special race in Louisiana. It was immediately thereafter to he was not senator yet. He was I believe the treasurer of Louisiana was Kennedy. He was running for that Senate race. But Louisiana has a different electoral timeline. So they had their race and runoff in December. So right after Trump won and Rubio won re-election, we were all given the opportunity to go to Louisiana for deployment if we wanted to continue working campaigns, and doing that type of work. And so I wanted to do that, and I ended up going to Louisiana for about a month and a half, and got to work there. I was assigned to Baton Rouge, so I was right next to. Yeah, I was right next to LSU. It was I liked it. I loved it. I had a great time there in Louisiana. So I did that race all the way through to the end, and then Senator Kennedy now, he won. So we got another seat there. And then at that point, I know it was like one campaign after the next. And then we had that one. And then in 2017, I ended up making the move out west. I ended up going from Florida to Louisiana, then to Nevada for a little bit because they were getting ready for Dean Heller, who was the senator at the time, was obviously running again in the midterm in 2018. He was going to be up for re-election. So I started for a little bit with the Senator Heller campaign, but I also had, at the time moved out to California with my fiance because she wanted to go out here for grad school. And so she was living in San Diego where I was in Las Vegas. And yeah, we did a few months where I was out there, she was down in San Diego, but my goal and hope had always been to be able to come to California. And so after a few months with the Heller campaign, that opportunity came, and I was asked if I wanted to come out to California and work with the California Republican Party. And so I eagerly accepted that opportunity. I was able to then leave Las Vegas and go down to San Diego, to then where I had San Diego County and Orange County, where I was working with all the congressional candidates. And then that's how we brought up to where I met you. So.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. What a story. I love it. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I remember you telling me stories about how when you worked on the Mitt Romney campaign that you drove his kids around, right?
Yeah. Because that was 2012 was the year that the convention was in Tampa for the Republican National Committee. So I was one of the individuals that was asked if I would like to drive some of the delegates and the VIPs from the airport there in Tampa over to the convention center. And I agreed, of course, enthusiastically. And I ended up getting Romney's son, his wife, and then their children. So I got to drive them from the airport to the convention center. It was wonderful. So.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh my gosh. And you got me the job of driving Lindsey Graham during, remember when you came out here? That was so fun. Oh my gosh, that was a great time. Oh my gosh, little perks, thank you. Oh my gosh, that was so fun. Well, now you've moved into the hotbed. And you're working for Michelle Steele, who is just such a great leader. And she is the head of the Board of Supervisors, if everybody doesn't know about that. And why don't you tell our audience what the Board of Supervisors, what she does as a role before, and then we'll talk about your position.
Yeah, absolutely. So Michelle is, like you just said, she's the chair of the Board of Supervisors in Orange County. There's 5 different board members that make up the board, all from different districts in Orange County. The best way that I can explain a board of supervisors to people too is I think of it like as a city council, but for the county. And so each of them has their own little area that they represent, and then they all come together and then they elect a chair, or like a city council would elect, some of them elect their own mayors. And so this cycle, Michelle is serving as the chair, for the board respectively. And she's been doing a lot of great things, especially as we've kind of had to face this coronavirus pandemic. Yeah, she's a little did she, or I think anybody at the county know, when she, was elected chair for this year, that she would be, dealing with all the stuff that we've been dealing with. But I think given everything, she's done a tremendous job. And so the board of supervisors, though, they are the ones who, get to oversee different county departments and make decisions affecting the county. And that's where she is this year. But of course, she's running for Congress. So I right now, though, do work for her at the county level. I made the transition after the 2018 election cycle from the campaign side more to the official, the government side. And so I do that. And because of the work that I do in the government, you have to be very careful. You have to draw a clear line with what is government and what is not government, what is campaign. So, I mean, I have a regular 9-to-5 job that I do there at the county, but of course in my free time, and then on the weekends, I love to volunteer. I love to volunteer with campaigns still. We have a lot of great candidates, and I obviously love to volunteer with Michelle, so.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, she's amazing. She has done such great work, and she's had so much press, and she's just had, I mean, there's so much going on in this state with Newsom and with her. But she's just done a stand-up job, and I can't imagine how tired she must be these days. It's probably really draining, but she's doing a fantastic job. I'm just so impressed. And her latest, you told me that she sent a letter to Gavin Newsom along with county chairs of San Diego, Riverside, and San Bernardino, asking Newsom to examine counties individually when allowing them to open. So
and that's one of the most recent things that actually happened here just this last week. That letter was put together by these different counties. It's kind of Southern California. We have a collective, or a region, if you will: LA, Orange, and then San Diego, and San Bernardino and Riverside. Of course, we've seen the COVID numbers and what's been going on in LA. They've been hit much harder than some of the other counties. And here, especially in Orange, where we've seen far less numbers of the cases, and even in San Diego, Riverside, San Bernardino, they've not had the same amount that LA has. So when Gavin Newsom came out with his guidelines for reopening, he's been pretty blanket with most of those restrictions. And we feel like, because the situation here is different, it's going to warrant a different approach as far as guidelines and as far as reopening. We just want to make sure that the counties are given a chance to be examined on an individual county by county basis. And so Michelle really took lead on that, and working with the other chairs from these other counties. And hopefully we'll see what happens here. If the governor responds, they'd like to bring him down. They'd like to have a meeting with him, and work on getting Orange County back in track and back on its feet, because, we've done a great job here, I think, of flattening the curve. And so we should be
so low,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can say comparatively to Los Angeles. So, if LA needs to stay, locked down or shut in more, they can do that. And obviously safety should be first and paramount. But with counties that have, essentially gone that safer route, as long as they're operating in such a way that they can keep those COVID numbers down, they should be allowed a different set of guidelines. And so I'm excited to see what she does here in the next coming weeks, and see what the governor's response is. So.
Yeah, I really enjoyed seeing the leadership she took when we were targeted, our beaches were targeted. She came up the next day and just did a fantastic job, protecting our rights, as a county, and showing, statistics. Tell us a little bit about that day. That must have been crazy.
About that day? Yeah, it was.
That day.
It was an intense day in the office, obviously at the county, because you had the governor's press conference was around. It was around noon, I think. He moves them around sometimes within a couple hours, but I want to say it was around noon. he went on and he talked about Orange County, basically being the bad child, and because of that, he was going to slap down some restrictions and close the beaches until the county acquiesced to his desire to have a new set of guidelines, a new set of standards. And so that was, like I said, really early in the afternoon, around noontime. And then it was like after that for the rest of the day. And that was on a Thursday. So then the rest of that Thursday and then the next day on Friday, our office just received a bombardment of phone calls from constituents. And Michelle has, if you look at the different districts that are broken up, I do want to preface with this, her district has a large portion of the beaches. It's only her and Bartlett from 5th District, Lisa Bartlett, that have the coastal side of Orange County. And so we have Huntington Beach, Newport Beach, Seal Beach, a lot of the beach cities. And we had a lot of constituents just calling us nonstop that day. And then on Friday, letting us know that they didn't think that was right, that everyone at the beaches had been abiding by some social distancing. Everyone needed to go out and get fresh air. And, they were not happy with the governor and the governor's decision. They saw it as a clear overreach of his executive power and authority. And it was just another example of Sacramento, thinking it knows what's best, for a local area. And so Michelle and Supervisor Don Wagner both did a great job, I think, as far as, both did an excellent job as far as building a response and, letting the governor know that this is not okay. But that was an intense Thursday, Friday. And even when I came back,
24 hours, I know.
Yeah. Even when we came back on Monday and Tuesday, there were still people calling, but we, like I said, we just got overwhelmed with a lot of people calling, overwhelming support for Michelle, and they were upset with the governor's decision. So.
Yeah. It was such an intense 24 hours, in our area too, so many people were upset, and she just did a great job. And just her responses on that press release were so impressive, and Don Wagner's too, and Sheriff Barnes, they were all so impressive the way they responded. I was just she is such a leader. It must be so great to be working for her.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And I'm very, very honored and privileged to have the opportunity that I have here. I would say, seeing her leadership in action, being an employee here at the board, because I've always said, like, I've got a newfound respect for elected officials, having worked with, them on the campaign side, seeing everything that they have to go through just to be elected, and a lot of times you have your fans and your supporters, but you also have tons of haters. And a lot of the negative publicity and press that can come with it. You're always, being attacked or criticized for something. So it takes a very strong and resilient person to deal with that. And then also what she does on the official side, working nonstop around the clock, through this crisis, to stand up for her constituents and be their voice. Like I said, when Sacramento and the state wants to come down, make these decisions for everybody, it's not easy, and it never would be easy. So I respect her tremendously, and like I said, any other elected official for that matter. It's one of those things where it requires, I imagine, a thick skin. So.
Oh, she does a fantastic job. And I know too that she's working on right now, she and Don Wagner have drafted the OC business guidelines.
Yeah.
That's really exciting because, we're all talking about rolling out, and I talk about, and I'm really excited. Can you share with us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was like near the end of April, as we were going into May. But Don and Michelle created Michelle and Don got together to form a business ad hoc committee for Orange County. And the whole goal of it was, economic development and bringing Orange County's businesses back up to speed with safe guidelines, of course, making sure that safety remains first priority. But then secondly was just getting businesses and business owners, back in the regular sense of normalcy in Orange County. And so they drafted that committee, they put everything together, they brought some of the best leaders in Orange County to the table, got lots of valuable feedback, and then came out with these Orange County business guidelines. You'll have to forgive me because I don't have them right in front of me, but I can set them to you and you can share them here on the screen if you want later. But they're very comprehensive, and it's something that, if followed, I think would allow for Orange County to return to that sense of normalcy. And I'm excited that they took the initiative, they took the leadership on it, because while we all need to make sure that we're safe out there, I also think that we can't suffer this shut-in as long as maybe Sacramento wants us to. And there's businesses and there's business owners out there that are struggling to put food and stuff on the table. So I'm really glad that Herndon stepped up, even when, like I said, it might not have been the most popular position to take, but they did what they had to do. So.
Yeah, I am so impressed by their leadership. I'm just really excited. Oh my gosh! And now, if she hasn't had enough work as it is, she's also running for Congress.
I know. Yeah. You throw that into the mix, right?
Yeah, that is a lot. Oh my gosh! But I'm so excited about her running, because she's such a an impressive leader, and she has a track record to show that too. And she cares about, she also worked for the Board of Equalization. Is that right?
Yeah, no, she was elected prior to her time at the Orange County Board of Supervisors. Michelle was elected to the State Board of Equalization. And actually she had a very successful, I would say, career there, because, through her time in leadership at the state board, she was able to return millions of dollars to the taxpayers. So I think that, she's one of the electeds that has, the experience necessary to do a good job in Congress, and a track record of getting things done. She's not just all say and all fluff. She actually, she actually does what she says she's going to do. So she had 8 years that she was at the State Board of Equalization for, and then after that here at the Orange County Board of Supervisors. So she was actually just reelected in 2018 to the to Orange County. Yep, to the board.
Right. So. I remember voting for her. Yay!
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And she has so many great things. She cares about our taxes. She cares about, local businesses. What are her major platforms that we can talk to the audience about?
For Michelle?
For Michelle, for candidate. Yeah, for congressional candidate.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I think keeping everything back to local issues is important. And she's shown, that she kind of has a good thumb on the pulse, if you will, on what's important to the constituents in the community. You can use the beaches, the beach situation recently, for example, knowing her constituency and knowing the local issues that they care about. She's always been one that, has had that type of awareness, and she's got an open ear to listen to the people here. I don't think that I'm personally not worried about her getting sucked up or swept into the DC swamp, as we call it. Where you kind of go, move on. These politicians all start local, but then as they get, elected to higher and higher offices, a lot of times they forget what's important. And that's sad. But Michelle has always done a great job as far as, like I said, connecting and keeping up with what the local issues are, what's important, and what those people that she represents care about, and then being a voice for them. So
yeah, she's amazing. She is really amazing. And, Harley Ruda makes it kind of interesting. Running against Harley Ruda,
you can talk about him if you want, but yeah.
I'm sure people have seen, but just in case, I love this recent beach visit during the Orange County beach closure. I'm like, oh, classic. It's so
to put some context in that, so the way people understand. He of course, just like many of the other the Democrats were, very, very adamant that we needed to abide by Newsom's order, and we needed to keep the beaches and keep everything shut down. But then he was photographed. I don't even know who did it, but he was photographed on his own little beach area he lives in Emerald Bay, which is a very, very nice area. So it's very elitist, I would say, to see somebody like Ruda, telling folks, you can't go to the beach, you can't do this, but I can. So, beaches for him, but for nobody else.
That's right. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Well, I really pray, and I know that there are a lot of teams in the grassroots, a big grassroots, getting out there and making calls and just spreading the word, and so it's really encouraging to see, these great leaders and Michelle Steele, taking on more roles, because we need good leaders, and
Mhm.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited, and I'm so excited to have you here today, Tyler. And it's been so great, and I always love bumping into you. Well, we don't bump into each other too much anymore at events because there are no events right now.
I was gonna say I'm excited for the events to kind of ramp back up, hopefully.
Yeah,
As we like I said, we return to a sense of normalcy, and I'd love to keep getting the opportunities to meet each other out there in the field. So
yeah. I do really like the fact that we are like looking at ways to reach voters, as far as like virtual town halls and
yeah,
virtual meetings, so it is encouraging. It's nice that we're living in a time when we can do that, so
it's
um
definitely changed the way that campaigns have operated.
yeah.
If I can add that, I don't
Oh yeah,
have
no,
time.
that's
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to say, like we're doing right now, having a virtual conversation. I think a lot of campaigns, have realized too that we could still, be effective wanting to talk to voters or individuals. Now, of course, I think every campaign has had to reevaluate or maybe go about its way of marketing or communicating to the voter differently
mhm,
because of COVID. But I mean, I know, for example, Michelle, and this just couples back into, her just doing a great job wanting to know what's going on with her community, has asked folks, hey, just because COVID's going on, is there anything that we can help you with? So it
yeah,
was almost like the campaign went from a voter contact perspective to now we're just checking up on people and asking if there's anything that they need and then taking care of those needs because it's time for, I think, the community to kind of pull together amidst a
yeah,
time like this. And so I have a feeling that that's been the case for a lot of the campaigns trying to operate and get through this interesting time because you can't go out into the neighborhoods, you can't walk doors.
right,
And then I don't feel like it would be appropriate at all just to call individuals asking, voter ID questions.
yeah,
So it's really turned, kind of the messaging and of course the medium or the means of communication uh, upside down to what a traditional campaign would be. So I think that's actually very fascinating. And I'm wondering if, long term that's going to maybe shape or change campaigns in any specific sort of way going forward. So
yeah. I think so too. Even though I really miss events, going to events, I feel like I have
mhm,
so much more time now, and it's interesting to see what will happen after we get back to the new normal, whatever that might be. Whether
mhm.
we still like rely on virtual halls, because it is a lot more time efficient, but you just, yeah, there's so many different things. And we talked about this before we got on our election too, like how are the school closures, the college school closures. Cal State's closed now
Yep.
officially in the fall, and that'll affect our the general election,
Hmm.
so
No, you're absolutely right. I think having schools now go to virtual or online only. You're talking about a large voting block for districts or elected officials that have colleges. Is what I'm trying to say. That have colleges or university campuses, in their particular areas where they relied on those votes and the voters turning out. So um, having them all not be physically there on campus is going to change things too. It's going to change the political landscape a bit. So,
it will. It's interesting. It's really interesting, but
hmm,
um yeah, and and I'm really encouraged though, like going to Super Saturday events, like I've gone to two so far, and it's just so, nice to see the candidates coming together, from across districts, and we're getting together, and reaching people, it's just, I think this is one of the bright sides of COVID, if there is such a thing, is I think it's really built bridges in our communities. We had such tribalism, and
yep,
it still exists, but I think that we've had a lot of wounds heal, and we're looking more at like, we have a heart of kindness. I think kindness has swept through our nation, I'm hoping. I know it has, like in our community, so.
I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, and like I said, I think this has been a very great time for communities to kind of pull together. Looking out for one another and out for your neighbor. And so, like I said, I think that being said, it's going to change not just now, but hopefully it's going to continue on after we get out of the COVID pandemic, and that'll carry on. And, we might go find ourselves back to, a more neighborly, unified community. So
yeah, that would be nice, because we all can be friends regardless of how you feel.
I agree.
But it has been, oh my gosh, it's been such a pleasure to have you here today. I just really appreciate you being here and talking about, politics, your political career. That was so much fun, even though we just had a small piece of it. There's so much to tell. I've always enjoyed our discussions about this. I always is excited when I was on Mimi Walters, and I'm like, oh, Tyler's here. You can just have a break and listen to all of his little stories. So, and your position now and your experience with Michelle Steele, who's just amazing, and her OC business guidelines and the leadership that she is. It's been so fun and educational. Are there any closing comments you want to share with our listeners?
I will just say this, to you, thank you for doing this. I think it's important that, we always keep, that positive. I like how yours is called On the Bright Side, but we always have to keep that bright side in mind, or that positive spin on things. And it's important too, I think, what we do with our time in this situation, because, we do have, like you said, a lot more of an opportunity to maybe reflect inwardly, or, not having a traditional work schedule. You can always think to yourself, what else can I be doing now with some of this time to make a bigger difference on a positive impact? And so thank you to you and what you're doing with the podcast here. I do want to plug can I plug Courtney?
Yeah. Yes.
I want to plug my fiance. She's done a tremendous job here over COVID, because actually she was on your show. She did one of the episodes on glimmering bridges, and during this whole entire pandemic, she was getting ready to go to med school, and having more opportunities on her hand, or more time on her hand, because all of her volunteer opportunities were canceled. She decided, well, I'm not going to let this limiter stop me, and ended up creating a grassroots volunteer organization to reach out to elderly and at-risk individuals that are feeling anxious, isolated, and need that connection, and just need somebody to talk to. So she's been doing that, and she's grown and expanded that now into a new program as well called Music and Care, which just partnered with Care Choices Hospice here in Irvine, where they're also going to be providing music playlists, MP3 players, and customizable music playlists, and music player MP3 players and headphones for terminally ill patients. Because unfortunately, the hospice and the senior and elder care facilities, they've had to completely cut off all connections to the outside world due to Corona and to COVID. So those people are still there. They're still isolated. They're still wanting to have that physical, connection to the outside world. And so this is just a little means to do so with everything going on. So I'm really super proud of her and excited for all the work she's doing. But like I said, drawing that to the bigger picture is just, I think we need to, always think, what else could we be doing, with this time, this extra time that we have. So.
Yeah, I know. I loved our interview. And if you viewers missed that episode, make sure you pick that up. And that is, I believe it's episode 4 or 5, but it's with Courtney Smith, and it's in Glimmering Bridges. It's amazing. And I am so excited that she's made that progress with the playlist, because she went back, when we did that 3 weeks ago, and that wasn't even on the, on our talking points. So that's so exciting, all the things that she's done, and that all the things that you're doing, it's just, we're just really, really, I appreciate all that Courtney and you are doing for our communities, in the political field, and also mental health capacities, that Courtney's doing. I just really appreciate it. Oh my gosh. And I appreciate you being on the show today. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I can't wait for you to be back on. And Courtney, I told Courtney she needs to be back on.
I'd love to come back on after November when Michelle is a congresswoman. So.
Yes. And then you can tell us where you're going next. I know. Your story always unfolds, doesn't it? It keeps on changing, but like everybody's, but yours particularly does. So, oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you for tuning in today. And we're super excited that you came to visit us. And thank you, Tyler, for being here. And I can't wait to have you on again. And I hope you make today and every day looking at the bright side of life. Thank you. Thank you, Tyler.
You're welcome. Bye, Kristin.
Bye, Tyler.